you've done a number of pretty amazing things in your career, and as any career, and especially at the track, you have your ups and you have your downs. And uh, I'm not going to forecast what you had more of, but most of us in life have as many downs as we have ups. We try to forget about those and remember the good times. But you also had a horse called Nyquist, so that was another American classic horse that you produced. And tell me a little bit. I know that you had to retire that horse for some health reasons too, but tell me a little bit about what his personality and that was your second shot in 2016. He won the Kentucky Derby, and he was a 2-year-old juvenile Breeders' Cup winner.
Yeah, and the 2-year-old, yeah, Eclipse Award winning juvenile too, and yeah, he just an unbelievable natural athlete with speed. He was just so competitive. Um, he had so much natural stamina, and here he was undefeated, 2-year-old champion going in the Derby undefeated, and then to win the Derby was incredible. But he did after the Derby. It's so hard to bypass the Preakness, but if we could do it all over again, maybe bypassing that wouldn't have been a bad move, because it just seemed like coming back in 2 weeks really squeezed him, and we just never got him back to full energy, it seemed like. But he is doing one incredible job as a stallion right now. That's for sure. His babies are running through the screen.
Well, it's interesting because I have a number of points of things that I wanted to discuss with you, and you just hit two of them. So if you keep going, I won't even have to interview you. But the interesting part is that you bypassed the Preakness this year with Hot Rod Charlie. Was that some of the reasoning behind it, because you saw what happened with Nyquist and you said, let me not just push too hard, let this horse come through? Was there some other strategy or thought involved, or you just didn't think it was his race?
No, I do think it's something from experience played into that. Also, the owners, Greg Helm and Bill Strauss, and my nephew Patrick and his buddies who own Hot Rod Charlie, are just it's a very patient group of owners. And so, they kind of led the way. That was in my thinking, that if we didn't win, coming back in 2 weeks is asking these horses at this level, it's asking them a little bit too much. And as soon as the race was over, there was like no question that we were going to wait for the Belmont.
Yeah, and the other part which you sort of reminded me about is that it's interesting. Not all the great stallions of the world were great racehorses, and I'm giving examples: Northern Dancer, Fat Piano, Deputy Minister, Stormcat. Two of those horses I actually got to handle and work on. But having said that. Just so the viewership understands, the audience understands, that sometimes a horse can be a subpar. Like you're saying athletics. I was always a good, well-rounded athlete, but I wasn't the most spectacular at any one thing. But some of these horses, as long as they put in a reasonable performance and they have breeding, they can have value. And then the opposite is true too. We have some royally bred horses that can't win a race. So it's interesting how even if you stick with the right horse and they've got the right breeding and you sort of have a reasoning for everything, like you just said, Nyquist could turn out to be the better stallion between him and I'll have another. I mean, I don't know. You would have a better handle on that.
But I think, trying to gauge or predict a horse becoming a top stallion is like truly a box of chocolates. I mean, it's you don't know what you're going to get. And I've been blessed to have been around some good colts that ended up being stallions, and some of them have been okay, and some haven't. But I remember one trainer telling me one time his definition of what a good stallion would be is a top racehorse in a mediocre barn. And so I don't know. God, I don't put earmuffs on Nyquist. I hope he never thought that way. But yeah, it's you even see it. To me, you see it on the female side too. The dams, that sometimes you get these top race mares, and I don't know if they just are so competitive that they don't bring it as a mother as much as maybe the ones that didn't squeeze themselves so much competing. But you do see a lot of good race mares that don't turn out to have the best, most productive offspring.
Yeah, and I'm in full agreement. We use the term they're raced out, whatever that means. Maybe all their energies are sucked out of them, and they don't have anything for motherhood. And they also many of them have trouble even getting in foal. So
Yeah,
that's another story. And then some of these great horses, like I mean, from my vantage point, Secretariat was the greatest horse of all time. But that I'm biased. But having said that, he wasn't necessarily just like his father. He wasn't the stallion of stallions. He carried it through to the female line. I mean, he finally in his later years he did produce some really good colts. You would think so. He had the best broodmares in the world, but based upon what he did, it was hard to match Dad there with his pedigree and with his performance. But he passed it on to his daughters, and they passed it on to their sons.
Yeah, that is interesting how some of those the stallion lines end up being more productive on the female side. It's so hard to predict, but I'll have another who was kind of mediocre bred horse. He was just an absolute athlete, and I even look at it, like my brother Dennis and I. If you saw us together, we look like the number 10 walking down the street. He's so thin and I'm not. So, you never know. And we're full siblings, according to our parents. And so you just never know.
Well, you lead me to the next question. Who picks, and I sort of know some of the answers to this, but who picks your horses? Because either you're very lucky or you've got, a great sales agent there, or a combination of both. But to get good horses in your barn, someone's got to say, hey, Doug, take a good look at this horse because this horse doesn't have the best breeding, but I like what I see. Or they might say this has great breeding. If we can just get some black type on this horse, we got a stallion prospect here. How do you do that?
Yeah, Dennis is, he'll never be confused as a lounge singer or a brain surgeon, but he is pretty magical at those sales. And I think a lot of it is, he doesn't like when I call him this, but to me, he's kind of like my Rain Man. He can quiet himself and zero in on the smallest of things that are so important to us in the barn. Being reserving themselves in the stall, having a good foot, having a good stride. Just things that seem pretty obvious, but they're also easy things to overlook if you're not doing your due diligence before you start raising your hands and bidding on horses. So, Dennis he's wrong a lot, but man, when he's right, we've had some really top athletes that, a lot of smart, more experienced horsemen bypass for one reason or another, and Dennis was able to land on them.
Well, I have some very good friends that are standardbred people, and they got into the industry just because they had a few dollars and they wanted, sort of like your family, they wanted to just be together and do some things more for fun. And they ended up picking Speedy Crown, one of the leading stallions in the history of the sport. And, they told me, much like you, they're very humble people. They said, well, we went from sitting at a sales ring where we just picked what we thought was the best thing that we could afford. And now we're on planes going to Europe, and people are trying to sit behind us so they can hear what we're talking about because we've got, the magic answers to all this stuff.
Dennis, he gets a little of that. He's got to kind of every now and then hide a little bit because people follow him around and try to see who he's looking at. And so, it's what an honor. What he's very, he can't believe that someone would even be curious what he's looking at. So yeah, he's definitely earned himself some respect at the sales, and I'm extremely grateful. The whole team extremely grateful for the horses that he lands and brings to our barn.